that I want to start the stream, and so now people should be able to see us. Yep, it's going live. Hello there, Lucas and Lars and Justin and Pierce and Scott and Inlead and Lloyd and Scott and Vaxer, Darren, Jerome, Kodiak. What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a great day. Morning.
Hopefully everybody had a very awesome New Year's, even though you couldn't go anywhere and see anybody and do anything. Hopefully everybody spent some good time at home.
Yeah, we didn't even like usually we watch the ball drop, but it's always been like the past few years because the past, I don't know, I don't think we've had cable in 10 years. And
wow.
Every year it's the same thing with like the Super Bowl. Every year it's like this stupid workaround to try and get the ball drop on the TV, and the same thing with like the Thanksgiving Day parade, and the same thing with like the Super Bowl. It's always just like this hassle. And this year we were just like, well, it's not really all that enjoyable to watch anyway. Like the moment of the actual ball drop is cool, but all of the nonsense that leads up to it is just so boring. So what we started doing a few years ago, and I don't know why we didn't do it this year, but we for the past, I don't know, 8, 9, maybe even longer than that, we watched like a marathon of Twilight Zone on New Year's Eve.
Interesting.
We just forgot to. I think, my niece wanted to read and my son wanted to hang out with his friends playing what's the game where you argue?
Game where you argue.
It's
Among Us?
Yeah, Among Us. He wanted to play Among Us with his friends, and so that's what my wife and I ended up watching TV upstairs, and the kids were doing their own thing, and everybody was happy. So
I have no idea how I got the game from that description. The game where you argue, and I picked it up.
Is it not an accurate description?
I guess so. It's funny when you podcast with someone for a while and you chat a lot, you do stuff. You become like an old married couple where you can finish each other's sentences. You know where the conversation is going.
Each other's sandwiches.
There you go. Yeah, no, it's for us. We went on to a Zoom call with some friends. And there's nothing more enjoyable than a Zoom call where no one knows how Zoom works, and people don't know how mic muting works, and then they go and they yell at their kids for breaking something, and they're cutting off all the conversations that's going on. It was great. It was great. Let's say that was an awesome New Year's, and we'll just leave it at
that. You would think after a year of almost a year of this craziness, that people would understand how those things work. But every time I get on a work call or something, there's always somebody who like, everybody's like, can you mute? And they're not paying attention, or some like, so then their phone will ring and they'll pick it up and they'll like, and then they have to mute their mic because there's like this huge echo and everybody's trying to get him to stop. And
yeah, it's fun. It's been fun. Sammy and the Cloud, how are the kitties? The kitties are awesome. The kitties are going to be very sad in a couple days when my wife and I go back to work, and we're not home with them at the whole time, like all day. They've been very lovey, very snuggly. They're really enjoying the 10 days off that both my wife and I had. Of course, the kids are home with them throughout the day, but the kids have school usually during the day, so they don't get a lot of snuggle time. So the cats have been great.
There you go. I had to kick Marvy out of here a few minutes ago. He snuck in. I try not to have him in the room when I'm doing a podcast or something, because inevitably he's going to be like, all right, I've done everything that I want to do in this room. I'm going to leave now, and I can't open doors. So that means that I'm going to bother you. And so I have to get up in the middle of the show and go do it. So I kicked him out a few minutes ago. I got to be honest, I don't know how he got in, because I thought the door was closed. and I'm sitting here doing stuff, and next thing you know, I don't know, maybe he was already in here sleeping or something. Who knows?
Maybe he figured out a way to open the door to get into the room, but hasn't figured out how to open the door to get out of the room.
He's got the paws for it. He's got I think 7 toes, so he's got like these
Oh, wow.
giant mitts.
Polydactyl.
Huge. Yeah, polydactyl. That's right. Look at you with the $20 word.
Yeah, I've used my credit for the year. I'm all out of word credit now. I'm gonna have to wait till 2022.
The rest of the year, you're gonna have to be like Kevin on The Office.
Why use many word when few word do?
Yeah, something like that. All right, are you ready to record a podcast, man?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna hit that button, and I'm
gonna sneeze though.
Don't sneeze.
That's the problem.
Don't. He muted his mic. He did well, and he can hear me because he didn't mute his headphones. But good job, Lloyd.
There we go. No blowing up of ears. No computer speakers blowing up. That was good. That was a good way to do it.
There you go. All right, let's get started.
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Stadia Cast. This is Bill, that is Lloyd. This is Bill, I'm Bill, that's Lloyd. What's going on, man?
I don't know. Apparently we both have forgotten how to talk in the switch from 2020 to 2021. So hopefully we pick up that skill again really quick, or it's going to be very awkward.
Absolutely. So listen, before we get started on the show, we record this show every single Sunday morning live on our YouTube channel, which you can find by heading on over to nerdnest.tv. 10 a.m. on Sundays, we are live. There's other times that we're live, so when you get there, make sure you subscribe and turn on alerts so that everybody can see, so that you can see when we go live or post a new video. If you are here with us live and you want to support the show, you can use the Super Chats feature, which makes absolutely sure that we see your comment. As those comments come in throughout the course of the show, we respond to each and every one of those at the end. So make sure that you use that. It has that effect, and it has the bonus effect that you are supporting us making content like this. There's also a join button right down below that you can use in order to get all of those member benefits like the emotes and access to certain Discord channels. Click the button, you'll find out more about what it entails, and that also supports us. And finally, if you're not watching this live, you can click on the applaud button, and that also directly supports us as well. We start every single episode off the same way. I ask Lloyd, what has he been playing, sir? What have you been playing?
Yeah. I did a thing, Bill. We talked about it last episode, and I did a thing. I ordered myself an iPad. I have an iPad Air 4th generation. So I've been playing Stadia on my iPad Air. This is now my favorite way to play Stadia.
Really?
I played about 3-4 hours yesterday. I laid in bed. I put it on my lap. I have this heating bag that I use because I have neck problems. So I put that out on my lap. I put my iPad into it. It kind of like sunk in as a holder, and I sat there and I played some Cyberpunk, and then I was like, you know what? I want to go check out some other things. So I went and I started playing some Watch Dogs Legion, and I dipped into Valhalla a little bit, and it was so darn comfortable sitting there with 11-inch screen right in front of my face playing Stadia. I'm so happy that Stadia works natively on iPad right now, because this is my new favorite place to play Stadia. And I'm sure it'll get old after a while, and I'll come back down to the cave and sit down here and play the games here. But over the next little while, I think I'm going to be playing a lot of Stadia while I'm like lounging in different parts of the house. It's pretty darn awesome.
Yeah, I've got the iPad Pro 12.9 from 2 years ago, I think, and maybe 3 years ago now. Whichever was the first one where they got rid of the home button. And I have really been enjoying using the portability of it, being able to just be anywhere in the house. I mean, that's one of the things that appealed to me about the Nintendo Switch, is that, yeah, I can play it on a TV, but I can also grab it and go to some other room with it. And that's one of the things that obviously appealed to me with Google Stadia is I can play it on my TV or on my computer, but I can also have it on my iPad and take it with me to some other room. I
Yeah.
tried yesterday to play it on my bike, and it was like I was like, all right, I'm gonna load up a game and I'm gonna use the controller. I've got like a little bracket that my iPad sits in, and usually I watch TV shows while I'm on my stupid exercise bike. And so I'm
Right.
pedaling along, and I was playing, and it was just too distracting. I couldn't actually enjoy it that way. Now, my wife and I are going to be putting a bunch of all of our exercise equipment into this room, not this room, but a room downstairs. And so she said that I can get like a fancy treadmill. So I'm going to get a treadmill for down there, and maybe that'll be easier, because
Right.
just sitting on that seat was really awful. But I love the portability of Stadia. And yeah, you do need to have
Yeah.
an internet connection, but honestly, for me, the Nintendo Switch, it was really more about being able to go around to different places in the house
Yep.
rather than taking it with me someplace. And while you do need Wi-Fi, it for me, it's kind of the same thing, but with a lot more games. I feel like, well, obviously not a lot more games, but games that don't that require um the more powerful hardware. There, wow,
Right.
I got that word out finally.
Yeah, it is really really interesting because I have a pretty decent PC here that I use for streaming, and I have Chromecasts and I have Shield TV and I have all this stuff all over, and most of the stuff is wired. Actually, all the stuff is wired. Every device in my house is wired, and there's no hiccups at all. And I fully expected, because I have a MacBook Pro. It's about 3 4 years old, so it's pretty old, but it's still fast. It's still a really decent machine. It's my work laptop. I use it every day to get my job done, and everything works fine. But if I'm on Wi-Fi, I get like regular hiccups where the stream kind of pauses for a second, gets really pixelated, and then comes back. I played for like 4 hours on my iPad, and I noticed it happen once, and I think that might have been like an internet issue, not a Wi-Fi issue. So the browser works better. It Everything is faster on the device. It is such an amazingly powerful little tablet, that I'm not noticing any issues there. So I think I'm going to be playing a lot more Stadia on my tablet, than anything else, at least for the next little while. But it was a great purchase. I'm so impressed with it now, and I mean, I've only had it for a few days, so I can't wait for a month out. Once I have all my apps there, I'm going to be doing like image editing and video editing and content creation and game streaming. Or, well, maybe not game streaming, but I'm going to do all the things that I possibly can on just a little tablet. It's I know I'm talking like this is new, and everyone's like, I've had an iPad for years, but this is the first new iPad I've bought myself in a large number of years. So it's pretty amazing getting back into that world, and just loving streaming Stadia on it. It's been just a dream.
Yeah, and there's going to be a bunch of people in chat or in the comments, and they're like, I don't like Apple. I want to have a different device. I recently did a video where I talked about why I think that the iPad is the best tablet, but I understand that there's a lot of people that disagree with me. And my guess, and I haven't looked at the comments yet, but my guess is that there's going to be a bunch of people in that video who left comments about what their favorite tablets are, um,
Mm,
to play Stadia on. And so if you check out that video, you can find comments for, maybe you're not an Apple person like Lloyd and I are, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Check the comments on that other video, or check the comments on this if you're watching this on YouTube instead of listening to the podcast version of it. Check the comments on this, and I'm sure that people will say what their favorite tablets are to play Stadia on. The one thing that I wish that the iPad had was a different. Well, okay, for Stadia and for watching things, I really would like it if the iPad was a different aspect ratio, because it's got that very boxy square aspect ratio.
Right.
And I would like it for watching and playing to have a wider aspect ratio, but I think that that would be an awkward tablet. I haven't used a tablet like that since, I would say, the Nexus 7, which was widescreen. I believe
Right.
that was a 16 by 10 resolution or aspect ratio tablet. And this is, I believe it's 4 by 3, right, Lloyd? The iPad?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's 4
Yeah,
by
it's a
3.
little bit wider than 4 by 3, but yeah, it's essentially a 4 by 3 tablet.
Yeah, and Jerome in chat is saying the best thing about Android tablets is the cheap prices. And to that, I'm not going to
Mhm.
disagree with you, but I will
Sure.
say you get what you pay for.
You do.
This thing is, the iPad is incredibly fast, and as somebody who uses it every day to edit video
Mhm.
for not for this channel, because I do that at my computer, but for my students,
Mhm.
it's like the render time is insanely fast when you're using an iPad, any of the latest iPads. Anyway,
Yep.
you've been playing on your iPad, but what have you been playing other than Cyberpunk?
Sure. Before getting into that, just a couple comments that
Oh,
have
okay.
flown by in the chat. I have played on an Android tablet. I have a Fire 10 tablet. It's trash compared to anything else that I've ever used. Like, it just does not work well.
But that's real
The
cheap.
Yeah, and so the benefit of, oh, but Android tablets are cheaper, yes, but you do definitely get what you get what you pay for. Just not a good experience on all the Android devices that I've used. Of course, I haven't used a Pixel phone. I haven't used any of the newer tablets, because if I was going to spend a big chunk of money on a tablet, I was going to get an iOS tablet because of the Apple ecosystem that a lot of my content, a lot of the stuff that I've owned over the years is all part of. So yeah, I have used Android tablets, and yeah, I'm just not a fan. Not the ones that I've used anyway. But the iPad has just been absolutely fantastic. Moving into what we've been playing, I have been playing a large amount of Cyberpunk 2077. I'm close to beating the game. At least I think I'm close to beating the game. But then I'm also at Watch Dogs Legion. I'm in the final battle, but I think there's more after. And then I'm in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm almost at the end of the game. So all these games that came out before Cyberpunk, I'm still haven't finished them. And my goal was to do it over the holidays. Yeah, that didn't happen. So I'm going to be slowly making my way through some more Watch Dogs to try to finish that one off. Then probably Assassin's Creed. Well, popping into Cyberpunk constantly over the next little bit as well, because I there's all these games, and I just can't stick on one. I'm bouncing between them pretty regularly.
Yeah, so I have been, the worst possible thing to happen to me, it would be for this game to come out that has this really satisfying, quick gameplay loop, where you just keep playing the same kind of thing over and over, and it's really, really fun. And that is Enter the Gungeon. And the reason why that's bad for me is because that means that I've kind of stopped playing Cyberpunk. I've stopped playing um, Immortals Phoenix Rising. I've stopped playing the bigger, lengthier games, because I can sit down and jump into a gungeon and enter the gungeon and do some quick upgrades, kill a couple of bosses before I inevitably end up getting killed, and head back to the beginning. And that gameplay loop is very, very addictive. And when you get killed, there's like, you're like, oh, I'll do one more run. Like, how long could it take? Yeah, I'm gonna do another one. And so I've been playing lots of Enter the Gungeon. That game is really, really fun. It was funny. I was playing. Somebody must have seen that I was playing. They sent me a message. They're like, "Careful in the gungeon, Bill." They sent me a message on Stadia. I also have been playing F1. Well, okay, been playing is I've started F1 2020, and I
Okay.
have got to complain about this game a little bit. This has got to be one of the worst onboarding experiences that I have ever had in a video game. I started the game up, and they're like, "All right, um, pick your character." All right, cool, that's fair. I pick my character. You know, pick your colors and all this stuff. Make a whole team. choose a sponsor. I was like, this is my first time playing this game. I don't know anything about this. And so I'm doing all of this stuff, making all of these choices, which I am not equipped to make because I don't understand. I mean, obviously I understand what I'm doing. I'm like looking at my teammate and saying, "Oh, these are their stats," and I have to pick between these three teammates. And so I'm like, "All right, well, I don't know which. I mean, I understand what the stats do, but I don't know which one's the best." So I'm making all of these decisions with no and this is like 20 minutes into the game, and then finally I feel like, all right, I'm done with all of the choices. Then I have to do a TV interview. And I'm not even joking. Like, there's a fake camera pointed at me, there's a fake camera pointed at some other person. They're asking me questions, and I have like a dialogue tree for like, oh, I really think that our engine team has done a great job making this car super, super fast, or, whatever. And I'm just like, I just wanted to race. And I know that there's going to be people in chat that are like, well, if you'd have gone over to the next menu over, you would have been able to just race. And that's great. But that should be the first thing that you do when you play the game is let me start up and let me start racing. And so I've done a couple of races now, and I'm not into simulation racing, and I understand that, but it was free, and I figured I would try it out. The graphics look great, but you like whoever makes this game, the onboarding experience is stupid and confusing if you've never played one of these games before. And I'm going to say
Sure.
it's just as bad as Monster Hunter as a series, as far as all of the crap you got to do or stuff that you need to understand. Just send me straight to the race. Let me do a few races and then have somebody say, hey, you know what? You're real good. Maybe you should have an F1 team. And then I can start making all of those decisions. It's just a really bad first experience for somebody who's never played the series before. And I feel like there's a lot of games that do this kind of thing where they say, well, this series has been around for a million years or whatever. And so everybody already knows how all of this stuff works, but they always have a bad explanation for like teaching newbies how to play the game, because I wanted to play it. I know that there was a lot of people who were excited about this game. I'm not one of them, but I did play a
Yeah.
little bit of it. And my guess is if you are into simulation racing, you will probably really, really like F1 2020. I
Yep.
was just going to give it a chance. And the racing seems fine, but all the other stuff is just annoying to me.
Yeah, it's very similar to like Football Manager or there's another game that I played. What was it? Some baseball simulator. I can't remember what it was called. Not Baseball Simulator 2000 or anything. It was like a full sim of like baseball. So it was just stats. And I tried playing it because I got a code from a buddy of mine, and I'm just like, this is not fun to me. This just not, this does not make me want to sit here and continue doing what I am doing. I fully get that with the F1 stuff. We got some really great pro games in January. Like we have Hotline Miami, Ari and the Secret of the Seasons, F1 2020, Figment, and we got a stealth drop of El Hijo, the Wild West tale. So there's just so many games that I want to get into. It's unfortunate, I guess, that I have like 3 huge sprawling RPGs that I'm still making my way through, because there's some really great games that have been added that I just have not had time to even jump in and do a video of. I'd love to play through Ari. I've been excited for that one since I first heard about it. And El Hijo just looks super interesting. You're this little 5-year-old kid that's trying to hide from people and stealth around. I'm pretty excited to get into these ones. It's we've said it before, it's kind of an embarrassment of riches right now on Stadia, where we were complaining 8 months ago, oh, there's not enough games, and now it's like, oh my god, there's too many games. We're just never happy here on in Stadia land, I guess.
Yeah, I like the I like what they're I like the idea behind El Hijo, because when you look at that game, like the whole idea behind it is that it's a non-combat game. it's all about stealth, and that is very interesting to me.
Hmm.
Where, and again, I haven't played it yet because I was I was pretty busy over vacation, but it looks really good and I'm interested in it. I'm also very much interested in Ari and what's the name of the game? Ari
And the Secret of
Secret of
Seasons.
the Seasons. Yes. I'm very interested in Ari and the Secret of the Seasons. I was like, all right, I know that I'm probably going to enjoy those games, so I'm just going to try F1. And F1 looks like a really good sim racer, just with a bad onboarding experience. And if you are somebody who's into sim racers, I'm gonna say it's a recommendation from me, because it seems like it's checking all of the boxes. It seems very, very detailed. It's just not for me. I'm waiting for us to get a really good kart racer, because those are the racing games that I really, really like. And what do you think about that? What do you think we're going to get, Crash Team Racing or Sonic Team Racing first?
That's what I was about to say. Crash Team Racing is getting they have a demo where you can just download the whole game on Nintendo Switch right now. And I've talked to a couple people that are just like, "Oh my God, this game is really good. It's so much different than Mario Kart. I don't know why I've never played this before." Getting that on Stadia would be fantastic. I know Jem's in chat right now. So you said Crash and he fell out of his chair. Can someone send some paramedics to Jem's house, please? We need to check on him. But yeah, getting Crash Nitro Racing or whatever it's called on Stadia would be fantastic, because it is a really good kart racer, and obviously it doesn't have Mario on it, so it could get ported over.
It could, and yeah, we'll never see Mario Kart, which is the one that I want. But you know what? I'm willing to check out the other ones. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm willing to check out the other ones on Switch, because I know what I'll do is I'll just go back to Mario Kart. But I would love to check out the other ones on Stadia.
Hmm.
Whoever makes Crash Team Racing, I can't remember the name of that company, and uh, Sega, please give us Sonic Team Racing on Stadia. I remember
That'd be
playing
good.
Sonic Team Racing. I think it
It's
was on
very good.
my Xbox 360, and I enjoyed it. I felt like, oh, this isn't Mario Kart, but it's pretty good. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who have okay, not have Stadia. Everybody has access to. Okay, not everybody. I always people get mad in the comments if I don't say this the right way. If
Hmm.
there's a lot of people who live in countries where Stadia is available and they have access to high-speed internet, but they don't have a Nintendo Switch and they don't have a kart racer. So give us a kart racer for those people. Did I say that diplomatically enough so that people aren't going to be
That's
mad?
That sounds perfectly well. I remember on the Wii U when Sonic and Sega and Sonic Team Racing or whatever it was called on the Wii U. It had a weird name. And I did a podcast and I said, this might be the best kart racer on the Wii U. And oh my God, the hate that I got for months after as people were listening to that podcast. But Sonic kart racing is fun. The fact that you could go between flying and driving and boating, it was just a different experience. And I think I'm Mario Karted out. I've played so much Mario Kart over my life, and it doesn't help that the last Mario Kart that came out on the Switch was the exact same game essentially that was out on the Wii U, so I'd already played many years of it. Getting some other kart racers going would be really good. So both Crash or Sonic on Stadia would be a amazing get, because more arcadey racing games would appeal to me, because sim racing is just that's not my thing. I'm not a big fan of that.
I think it's really, for me, sim racing is not my thing because I'm bad. I'm real bad at it. I can't. I just. The whole get good doesn't happen because it's not. It's not fun enough
Right.
when you're bad for me to put in the work to get good. Whereas
Right.
when you're playing an arcade racer, it's fun enough even when you're bad, so that you have fun while you're getting good. At least that's just how I look at it. Let's move
Yeah.
on to new releases on Stadia. Not much since last week, but I just wanted to let everybody know, if you go to the Stadia store, you can see the new releases. We've got Cthulhu Saves Christmas, Reigns, which you did a first look on. We'll talk
Hmm.
about that in a second. Enter the Gungeon, which I just talked a whole bunch about. Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, which is currently on sale for $5. And PUBG Breakthrough Edition. So you played a little bit of Reigns. I know you
Yeah,
played it before.
I
So
saw it before.
oh,
It's
you
a
saw it.
game.
Okay.
So I believe it launched as a phone app, and then it was ported to the Switch. So I watched a lot of video on it, and I'm like, oh, how did that phone game make its way to the Switch? Because essentially, when you played on the phone, you are basically swiping left or right. It's kind of like the Tinder of role playing games or something. So you swipe left to do one action, or swipe right to do the other action, and you try to get as far as you can. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure book sort of thing, and then you get as far as you can. You unlock some new abilities or whatever, and then you die, and then your heir comes up as the king, and you do the same thing, but you have more options now because you've unlocked things on your previous attempt. So it really is fun, but it is kind of weird to play it on a console or a cloud-based console because there's no swiping. Even if you play it on Stadia, the Stadia app on iOS or Android, you're still not swiping on your screen to get rid of those things. So it's a little bit weird, but it's a fun little it's a fun little game that you can use as a palate cleanser between other games, because you can quickly jump into it, do a couple generations, unlock some other stuff, and then just go about your business with other games. So it's fun.
Do you think it's a better experience playing on the phone though, because you've got that touchscreen interface?
Yeah, having played it now, finally, I'd much rather play it on my phone. That would be a game that would be much better suited to the phone. But there's a lot of people that just detest playing games on their mobile devices. So getting a game that they're maybe interested about on iOS, but be able to play it on Stadia might be a good option for them.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of playing games on my phone either, but that's the kind of game that I feel like would work really well on the phone, because there's like from what I understand, because I've not played it, there's no action, right? It's basically you're
No.
just swiping a card a couple of times, right?
Yep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you get a choice. It's like people are super hungry because a lot of their food rotted. Do you want to order food from a neighboring community to feed your people, or do you want to tell them to work harder? And so you have the two choices, and then you have four bars at the top of the screen. So you have your people, your army, your health, and your something else. I can't remember what they all signify. But when you make a choice, some of those bars go down and some of the bars go up, and you want to basically balance in the middle, because if any of the bars get to 100%, you're gone. That people walk you out of the castle and kill you, and if it goes to zero, people kill you in the castle. So you're dead. You're dead if you do. You're dead if you don't. And that's kind of how the game plays out. So yeah, it's a game for me that would make more sense personally on the phone, but I don't play games on my device. I bought a new iPad. I haven't played one like native game on it. I've only played Stadia on it. I don't want to install gaming apps and play them on my mobile devices. So this might be a good option for a lot of people that are also like me.
Yeah, and I'm like you too. I don't like playing games on my phone. This one seems like touchscreen is the better interface for this
100%.
particular game. Let's move on to our upcoming releases. We got some games that are on the way. January 14th, we've got Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, which is funny. The other day, you guys can't see it, but right over here is an Asteroids Deluxe arcade cabinet, and I've got a bunch of arcade ROMs on there. And every day I come in, I open up my arcade, I find a random game, and I hit launch. And the other day it was Street Fighter, the game, the movie, or the
Oh,
Street
the
Fighter, the
game.
movie, the game was the game that came up. And I called my wife and I was like, honey, come look at this stupid thing. What a
Yeah,
bad.
that is a ridiculous game, but with one of the best names ever for an arcade cabinet.
Right. And that's exactly what I thought of when I saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game. They need to have the movie, the game in there. That
Hmm.
comes out January 14th. January 20th is Hitman 3. I know that there's a lot of people who are very excited about that. I don't know that I'm
Hmm.
excited because I haven't played much Hitman,
Yeah.
but I will say what I did play of Hitman, it turns out to be Hitman 1. what I did play of that, I was very impressed. I didn't expect to enjoy that game, and I
Hmm.
very much enjoyed the time that I spent with it. So I'm looking forward to Hitman 3. I'm not excited about it, but I'm looking
Right.
forward to it. And then January 29th, we've got Gods Will Fall coming as well. Any of
Hmm.
those jumping out at you as games that you want to? Wait. I almost messed up. February 25th, Riders Republic. That's the one I'm
Right.
most excited for. And I'm not even really an extreme sports kind of guy, but that game looks great. So, of the
Right.
games that I listed for January and February, and I'm sure we'll have
Hmm.
more, which of those are
Hmm.
you most excited for, Lloyd?
Scott Pilgrim, one of the best side-scrolling beat 'em ups ever. It came out before the renaissance of the side-scrolling beat 'em up, where all these developers are like, "Oh, I remember Final Fight. I remember Streets of Rage. Let's do that. Let's make new versions of this." Scott Pilgrim was kind of the first one that did really good. It's a lot of fun if you like side-scrolling beat 'em ups like Final Fight or Knights of the Round or Punisher or all those old arcade titles where you're basically your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Simpsons arcade game, like all those really amazing X-Men, all those amazing side-scrolling beat 'em ups. Scott Pilgrim is a very, very good version of that. And it's also tied into a really awesome movie as well. Yeah, that's the one I'm definitely looking forward to.
All right, so that's looking forward. Let's look back. Let's go back to 2020. Nobody wants to do that, but that's what we're going to do anyway. And
Yep.
Lloyd and I decided we're going to come up with our favorite games of 2020. Now, mine are not in a particular order except for the top one. So
Okay.
I didn't go through and rank them 1 through 10.
Oh,
Uh, what's the matter? Did I not
I
follow the
did.
rules?
Yeah, I did. I did 10 to 1. So I have mine all in order from 10 all the way to my favorite game of the year. And we also said that we're not just going to limit it to games that were released in 2020. It's going to be, since Stadia released so close to the end of the year in 2019, it's going to be from the launch of Stadia until the end of 2020, our favorite games.
All right. I don't think I realized that, but that's okay. I don't follow rules. I don't know if you're aware. So
Build.
Lloyd, tell me your
Yep.
number 10.
Okay, my number
Mine will
10.
not be in a top 10 order, or maybe I'll do it right now in my head. But what's your number 10 favorite game? And you guys can join in this too. Let us know. What's your number 10 favorite game on Stadia this year?
It's
Last year.
it's tough to figure all this stuff out because I've played so many titles on Stadia in the last year. But my number 10 is Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle. I've had a lot of fun with that game. The only reason why it probably isn't higher is because it's not a free to play multiplayer game. So when I've gone into to play, sometimes it's tough to get into a match. It takes a little bit of time to make sure that there's a match you can get into. But what an amazing I don't know, I guess a remake, but it's not even a remake. It's a envisioning of what a Pac-Man game could be. I've said this a lot over the last couple years. I'm a big fan of an old arcade game that I played a lot in the arcades. And then the company saying, "Hey, we own this IP. Let's take." I'm just going to use Asteroids because you already said you had an Asteroids cabinet. Let's take Asteroids, but let's make it new. And that is different than saying, let's take Asteroids and emulate the arcade version of it, where you could just keep putting in quarters by hitting start, but taking the game and re-envisioning the way it works. And that is what they did with Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle. It's a battle royale. You're playing with other people online. You can invade their mazes. You can just stick to your own maze and run around. It is just such a fun game, and I hope it continues to get updates and new content and new cosmetics, and does really well, because this is a really, really fun game that was a big hit for a while because it was one of the Google Stadia demos
Mm-hmm.
that was unveiled during Good Stuff. So yeah, big fan of Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle. That's my number 10 Stadia game for 2020 plus 2.
All right, my number 10 game. While you were talking, I wasn't really listening. Sorry. I was reordering my stuff to put them from 1 to 10. So my number 10 favorite game that I played in 2020 on Google Stadia is PGA Tour 2K21. That's right, a sports game. Now, for those of you who know me, you guys know I don't care about sports even a little. Like, this is how much like somebody might care about sports, and I care about it even less. Like, my fingers are touching. That's
Yeah,
how
you can't
little
get
I
a
care
piece of
about
paper in
sports.
there. It's so close. You can't even get a piece of paper in between your fingers.
That's right. But when it comes to golf games, I am a sucker for a good golf game. I love Mario Golf. I loved playing Wile Country Club on Super Nintendo. I was always a fan of golf games. I remember going over to my friend's house. He would have like Jack Nicklaus golf on his computer, and we would take turns. We would just sit at the computer and take turns playing golf. I love golf games. PGA Tour 2K21, all of the problems that it has with the menu system and everything aside, the actual moment to moment gameplay of playing golf is just so enjoyable and
Mm.
relaxing. And the voiceover work for the narrator, not narrators, what are the hell are they called,
The
announcers,
commentary, announcers
yeah, the color
commentary. Yeah.
commentary, like their voices are perfect. They do such a great job. They're like, okay, look at that, and he just oh, he got it right on the green. Great job, great job.
Oh
They're
wow!
so
Look at
yeah, exactly. It's
that is
so
the
relaxing.
best shot I've ever seen in my entire life of covering golf.
Yeah,
I used to stand out here with my dad, and we used to watch golf together growing up. Yeah, it's a very very NPR voice. I do enjoy that as well.
I've had so much fun playing that game, and it's always one of those games that I just keep going back to over and over again. And I really like the controls too. I was worried that I wouldn't like I haven't played a golf game outside of Mario Golf in ages.
Right.
But for me, golf games were press A, press A, press A, and
Yeah.
that's not how this is. This is you flick the stick back and you flick the stick forward. And I've just had such a blast with it. I'm really a huge fan of it. And so that's my number 10 is PGA Tour 2K21 on Google Stadia. Absolutely adore that game. What's your number 9, Lloyd?
My number 9 is a game that came out at the right time. I was feeling pretty down. There was a lot of health scares, not me personally, family members, the whole COVID junk that was going on. And that is a game called Spiritfarer. It was one of the most heartwarming games that I had played, and it came out at the right time. One of the actions in the game is you actually go up to a character and you can hit a button and you give them a hug. You give nice warm hugs, and each hug between the characters looks like a hug that I want to have, because when you can't have a physical touch anymore because of being in a pandemic, I'm not a hugger. I'm far away from a hugger. I don't like hugging people other than my family, my kids and my wife. But I just kind of want to hug everybody the way that the characters in Spiritfarer do it. It's a really fun role playing game. It's talking about acceptance. It's talking about dealing with death. A lot of really sad sad things, but the way that it's being shown, it's I don't know, they did it in a really good way, and I just had so much fun playing Spiritfarer. It's one of those games where you get close to the end and you don't want to beat it because you don't want it to end, and then it just sits uncompleted in your library. And that's kind of where I am with Spiritfarer. I don't want it to end, but I'm also not playing it now. It doesn't make sense. My brain's a scary place sometimes. And yeah, my number 9 for the first year of Stadia is Spiritfarer. What an amazing, heartwarming game that if you're looking for something that's going to pick up your spirits, or fare them around, I guess, Spiritfarer is definitely one to check out.
So for me, I didn't play Spiritfarer, but it's definitely on my list of things that I want to check out because I've heard nothing but good things about it. My number 9 game is Super Bomberman R Online, or as I like to call it, S-Bro, because it's funnier that way. I love that game. It is really, really fun. It shows off crowd play. It shows off or not crowd choice. It shows off crowd play. It's 64 players of Bomberman, and you are fighting against other Bomberman, and you've got all of these different abilities that you can have. You can turn those off if you want to have a more balanced, more competitive way of playing. But it is just so much fun. And honestly, that's only like that was me just playing like the battle royale version, the 64 player stuff. But there was
Right.
when we first got access to crowd play on our channel,
Mhm.
we were I was doing a crowd play stream, and I didn't announce it ahead of time, so people didn't know that we were doing it. And so we had a bunch of people come, but we didn't have enough to completely fill 64. And so I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to try out one of the other modes. The other modes are really good too. So
Yeah.
Super Bomberman R Online is fantastic, and that's why it's my number 9. It's one of those games that you can keep going back to over and over and over again. And that's not every game on my list today is not like that, but a lot of them are. They're the games that you can keep going back to, that you're not like, all right, I finished with it, I'm done, I'm not going back. This is one of those games you can keep going back to, and I absolutely adore this game. So Super Bomberman R Online is number 9 on my list. What's number 8 on your list?
All right, my number 8 game is a game that I was probably the most excited for on Stadia at the time when the game came out, because we had seen video of it running. We knew it was going to look good. It was a super twitchy game, so I was wondering how well it would perform, and that is Doom Eternal on Stadia. I absolutely love Doom Eternal, and it was a really fun shooter. But Doom Eternal is way different from Doom's 2016, which was very linear. You start at one end of hell, or Mars or Earth or whatever level you're on, and then you make your way from where you are to the end. And you can look at the map and you can see, okay, I'm here and I need to get there. How am I going to do that without dying? Doom Eternal is probably as tall as it is long on the levels. Like, there's so much vertical movement, there's platforming puzzles, there's time-based puzzles. There's a lot of stuff that I never anticipated doing in a shooter that is baked into that game, and I just had so much fun with it. I got near the end of the game and I just kept running into a wall, head first or face first, with my arms behind me, and I got to the point where it's just like, you know what, this isn't fun anymore. So I dipped from Doom Eternal, and I still haven't completed it. But it even though I haven't finished the game, it was one of my favorite experiences in 2020 on Stadia. A game shouldn't look that good and have that much fluid movement, and also not be running on hardware that is in my house. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. And this was one of the big games that made me just kind of, my mind just exploded with, holy crap, Stadia really is awesome. And in 5 years time, I don't know how anybody isn't going to be playing on Stadia, because it just is such an amazing experience. So Doom Eternal is my number 8 game.
And Doom Eternal is on my list as well, and we will get there soon enough. My number 8 game is Pac-Man Megatunnel Battle. I don't have much to say about it because Lloyd already took care of it. I will say this. Super Bomberman R Online is... Am I remembering right that that's a completely free game, right?
It is now. It came out free for Pro,
Right.
and then there was a $10 package which became free for Pro, but also if you bought it while not having Pro, you get access to the game. Now it is completely 100% free. You can claim the base game for $0.
Right. And that is the business model that, like you already mentioned this, that's the business model that I think Pac-Man Megatunnel Battle should absolutely go after. Monetize people by, giving them different colored capes or different glasses or different wigs or different hats and different wings or whatever it is that you want to do in order to monetize them. This game could be one of the big battle royale games, I think, because it's so accessible. There's not all of that. Like, you play Fortnite and it's incredibly complicated. You play Apex Legends, it's incredibly complicated. You play Pac-Man Battle Royale, there are literally directions and 2 buttons, and that's really
Hmm.
all that you need to worry about. And yeah, you can also zoom out with the triggers, but it's an incredibly simple game. And when a game is very accessible and very fun and multiplayer and free, that means it's going to be incredibly popular.
Right.
Unfortunately, right now it's not free. It's, I believe, what is it, $20, right? You said?
Yeah, I think it's $20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's $20 right now, which I think isn't too high. Like, I think it's worth $20. I absolutely do.
Hmm.
But for this kind of game, it really should be a free to play game propped up by microtransactions. And if it were, then it would not be number 8 on my list. It would be much, much higher. But I love this game and I can't wait to play more of it. Lloyd,
Yep.
number
Yep.
7.
My number 7 is a game that you just talked about, but not the game that you just mentioned as your number 8. That is Super Bomberman R Online. I'm a huge fan of Bomberman. I've played it all the way back from Super Nintendo on the way all the way up. It's a common game that comes out at parties. The Switch version was my favorite Bomberman version for the longest time, just because it was super quick to pick up and play. You could play with a Joy-Con turned sideways. So you could easily have 4 people running around bombing each other. That was really great. And then they came out with Super Bomberman R Online, which is, to me, better in every way. It is a super fun party game, but it's also a super fun online game that you can play with randos online. I love the fact that it is free. So anybody right now that has a Gmail account can go claim Super Bomberman R Online and play. And then if they want, they can buy that little $10 pack that gets them all those special characters. It would be nice to see some more monetization happening so we could get more content, more level designs, more other stuff on this game, because it really is fun. There's just something about Bomberman to me. It's a franchise that I've loved for so many years, and this is such a good version of it. So my number 7 game, you've already talked about it, Super Bomberman R Online. Fantastic game.
All right, my number 7 game is, it's funny, these last 3 games, they all have something in common. They're all like these multiplayer online focused games. Number 9 was Super Bomberman, number 8 was Mega Tunnel Battle. Number 7 for me is Outcasters, which just came out. It's a Stadia exclusive. It is very, very well done. It is very fun. This is another game that I think needs to be a free to play game propped up by microtransactions, but it's really fun. There is a very high skill ceiling for this game, but it also has a really low skill floor, which means it's very easy to get into and play and succeed in. But if you are really willing to put in the time, you can get really incredibly good at Outcasters. If you haven't played Outcasters yet, it's this isometric view, 4v4, or sometimes 8-player free for all, but 4v4 battle, where you are these weird little vinyl creatures, and you run around and you shoot projectiles out, but after you shoot them, you can curve the projectile to try and shoot around walls and stuff, so people can't really hide behind cover. Well, they can hide behind cover, but then you can curve around with enough skill and hit them. And it's got a bunch of different game modes. There's game modes where it's a free for all. You just, whoever's the last person standing, kind of like a battle royale. There's a game mode where you are just trying to get the most kills for your team, and then there's a game mode where you want to collect the most money and take it to the bank and kind of fight over who has control of the bank so that they can deposit their coins. It's incredibly fun, and I am a big fan of Outcasters. I think that this game, if it went free to play, it would be a huge, huge game, not just on Stadia, but like it would be a huge game all over the place. It would be one of the bigger ones on Twitch, I think. It's really, really fun. Lloyd, what is your number 6 game?
My number 6 is a game I'd been looking forward to for a while. I remember when Ubisoft first showed it off, and they're like, "Yeah, you could be anybody. You could claim it." And they recruited some 90-year-old grandma, and then she kicked someone's butt. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I got to play that game!" And that is Watch Dogs Legion. I'm a big fan of Ubisoft games. We'll just throw it out there. I love having a large map with a bunch of icons on it that I can say, okay, I want to go to this area of the map. I want to clear out all that stuff. And you're able to do that in Watch Dogs Legion very easily. It also doesn't hide the fast travel system at all. So you can basically go from any place on the map to any other place with very few issues. I love the franchise as well, but this is a really different version of Watch Dogs from all the other ones that I've played. It's fantastic. And the best part about Watch Dogs is it looks and plays amazingly well on Stadia. And it is also a game that doesn't really look better on other systems other than playing it on, say, like an Xbox Series X with ray tracing. You can have like reflections in the glass and stuff like that. But the actual game itself is it looks so good. And it to me, this was kind of a I don't know, it was a game that made me I played it and I'm like, okay, well, Cyberpunk is going to play pretty darn well on Stadia then, with how well Watch Dogs Legion has performed. So really great story, the customizations, the gadgets you unlock, all the stuff that is included in this package. I love it. It is a shame that Watch Dogs Legion, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Cyberpunk, you name it, all came out within like hours of each other, because otherwise I would have beaten this game and probably done a lot more cleanup and stuff like that. But my number 6 game is Watch Dogs Legion.
Yeah, the second half of the last 2 months of 2020 were insane with game after game after game, and they were all huge, very time-consuming games. And that's the thing about these, is when they all hit at the same time, you really got to pick and choose. But you know what? Lloyd plays a lot, and so if he says that game's he plays a lot of these big games. So if he says that one's a good one, then I will have to check it out eventually. My number 6 game is another Stadia exclusive. Well, for now, I think it's eventually coming to other platforms, and that is Orcs Must Die 3. I had so much fun playing this game. I played most of it solo. I played some of it, with Lloyd. We did like a first look where we were playing together. But overall, that game was awesome. Now, I didn't finish it. I got, I think, really, really close to the end, and something else came out and distracted me, and I never got back to it. And now... Since then, they have fixed some of the balance stuff. So all of the things that I like, all of the things that I would normally do, like, okay, I'm going to put this trap here, and I'm going to put this trap here. All of the strategies that I developed for my particular way of doing gameplay, all are bad now. And so I have to relearn how to play, and that's enough to make me say, I have 30, 40 hours in that game. That's probably enough for me. But I had a lot of fun with it. And after the fact, they also added in Stream Connect, and they gave they put out DLC for it. So I feel like this is the kind of game that's going to keep getting DLC updates, and so we're going to keep getting new content to it, which is really good. This is the perfect kind of game to continually add content to it. But Orcs Must Die 3 is fantastic. And I think the last Orcs Must Die game that I played was the first one. And I think it was a really, really long time ago. This is really fun. So I highly recommend it. And that's why it's my number 6. What's your number 5, Lloyd?
Nice. My number 5 is one of the first announced Stadia games that wasn't Doom Eternal. I remember the E3 sign. A whole building was vinyl wrapped with an ad for this game, and there was a beautiful Stadia logo right at the bottom. And I can remember the excitement that both Bill and I had when we were chatting about that when that happened. And that is Marvel's Avengers. The game has serious serious issues. But I'm a Marvel zombie. I love everything to do with Marvel, and being able to jump in and play through just an amazing single player campaign. Forget all the multiplayer stuff. Forget all the grinding the same mission over and over and over to get to max tier level, or max gear level rather. The story mode, from when you first are a little kid version of Kamala Khan all the way to the end, and I'm not going to talk about what happens because of spoilers. It was an amazing ride from start to finish. If you only like single player games, buying Marvel Avengers when it's on half off or more is going to do you very, very well. It is just such a fun game, and the ability to play as Hulk down and smash things and punch things and pick up cars and throw them and like all the crazy stuff that Hulk does, and then the next second switching over to I don't know, Black Widow, and playing games with like stealth and grenades and guns. It really is amazing that you can have such different experiences while playing this game based on the character that you choose. Square Enix has come out and said that they are planning to support it for 2 years with new DLC. The game hasn't sold very well, so I'd be surprised if it lasts a whole 2 years, but I believe there was like 12 or 14 DLC characters that have been leaked. So if we get all those characters plus the original 6, if we could have 20 characters in this game and you could play through their story missions and it all just costs you the $20 or $30 that it does right now, it's a pretty compelling package. So Marvel Avengers, one of my favorite games of the year, and my number 5 on my list of 2020 Stadia games of the year.
Yeah, I just looked it up while you were talking. It's currently on sale for half off, so it's 30
Yeah.
bucks right now. And you
What a
can
deal.
get like the fancy edition or whatever for 40 bucks. I
Nice.
still haven't played it. I like, part of me says I should get it right now because it's so cheap. But I have so much to play right now. I don't need to, and it's going to go on sale again at some point, especially because it didn't sell so well. Which is too bad because, you know, you've said a million times it's really, really good. All right,
Yeah.
my number, what number are we on? 4?
That was my number 5.
Okay, so
you're
my
number
number
5.
5 game is my very first time playing any game in this series, and that is Borderlands 3. I did not expect to really be all that interested in Borderlands 3, but when I played that game, it, like, the voice acting is great, the story is very compelling, and then the ridiculousness of everything that happens in that game is really, really awesome. I'm a huge fan of Borderlands 3, and I'm looking forward to the next Borderlands game. I haven't picked up the DLC for Borderlands 3, mostly because...
Did you buy that ridiculous $10 deal that gets you both season passes?
Oh, yeah, I did. So I have the DLC. I forgot about that. Yeah, I saw that was such a really good deal, and I said, I might as well. There's no reason not to. This game is really fun. You have a whole bunch of different classes that you can play as. You played as a gunner, right?
Yes, I played as the gunner.
Yeah, so like Lloyd's character could like jump into a giant mech and fight things that way. My character was I believe it was called an agent. I played this very early on in the year. I played the agent, and so I could like make clones of myself and have a little drone to fight stuff for me. I had so much fun. I also played as the Beastmaster, who's just like a giant robot guy who summons like animals and stuff to fight for him. So I played a couple of different ways, and I really have enjoyed what I've done with that game. And it's one of the games that I finished. I don't finish games. You guys know that about me. I'm not a game finisher. A game has to be pretty damn compelling in order for me to finish it. And I finished Borderlands 3. Really enjoyed that game. What a fantastic first-person shooter on Google Stadia. And they kept improving it too over time, which it's kind of too bad because I finished the game and then they did all of these improvements, and so I was playing it when it wasn't as good as it could have been, and it's still one of my favorites. But that's why it's at number 5 on my list. It's such a great game. What's your number 4, Lloyd?
Nice. I was just looking at game time that I had spent in the past year playing Marvel's Avengers. I played for 80 hours, so it is a good game. 80 hours for $30 right now is a pretty darn good deal. The next game that I'm going to talk about, I played for 135 hours. So yeah, this is interesting. My number 4 game is Borderlands 3. Funny enough, Bill. I love Borderlands. I was a big fan of the original. All the way up. I even played it on Vita. I played it on all the places where you can play Borderlands. And Borderlands 3 had me like completely addicted. I love the game. I love the characters. I love the like all the different character classes that are in this version of Borderlands are fun to play. And the DLC has been a dream. Like you said, Bill, they've constantly updated the game. So when the game first came out, it was maybe 4K 30, but it wasn't a full 4K. It was a little bit blurry. And then about I don't know, 2 weeks after launch, there was a big patch and the game looked better. And now it looks amazing. It must run at 4K 60 because it is so buttery smooth, and the ability to jump in and just run across the map and kill things and get into vehicles and travel to all the different DLC areas has been a heck of a lot of fun. So Borderlands 3 continues to be one of my favorite games on Stadia. I do drop into it fairly often to play through some of the new DLC that is released since the last time that I've gone into it. And it is just an amazingly huge and fun game. If you like looter shooters, this is probably the king of the looter shooters because there are 1 trillion different guns that you can get in the game
Yeah.
because they're all randomly generated. So if you like guns where when you run out of ammo, you throw the gun at someone and it explodes and another one just appears in your hand, this is the game for you because there's all sorts of those crazy guns. There's even a gun that you can throw on the ground and then it grows legs and it chases your enemies because why not have guns with legs if you're in a game that is all about all the different types of crazy guns you can get. What an amazing title. As I said, 140 hours, which is 135. That sounds less sad, but it still is pretty sad. That is a lot of time to spend on one game. But man, did I ever love Borderlands, and I can't wait to see the second wave of DLC that is going to be coming with the second season 2 season pass, because I can only imagine all the craziness that's going to ensue in this game.
Are you going to start over a new character?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try. They've added another. If you bought the second season pass, there's another skill tree that gets added. So instead of having 3 different skill trees per character, there's now 4.
Oh, nice.
And they've increased the number of points that you can get. So your build at when the game came out is going to be very different than it could be now because of all the other additions and level cap and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be excited to go through and just mess around with my gunner character, but also check out some of the other stuff as well.
So my number 4 game is The Division 2.
Nice.
I was completely uninterested in this. I'm not a Tom Clancy realistic shooter guy. I looked at this game and I said, "Oh, it's a Tom Clancy realistic shooter kind of game." I'm uninterested. It is
Right.
not that. It is an MMO where you have realistic graphics, but the gunplay is not realistic at all. And that is not a complaint for me. That is a good thing. Like, the time to kill in this game is very long. So that means when I am fighting against enemies, I got to pump a lot of bullets into them, and they got to pump a lot of bullets into me in order to kill me too.
Right.
And for me, that's a more enjoyable experience than going through and playing and sniping somebody and having them dead instantly, or having somebody else snipe me and having me dead instantly. Division 2 takes place in like the future, post-apocalyptic stuff. You start out in Washington, D.C. If you've got the DLC, which I do, you move on to New York, and you're going through the streets of these cities, doing like little quests, taking over like little areas, and you take over the little areas, and then suddenly the good guys come in, and then you can buy stuff from them, or you can go and find like water and food and supplies and bring them to them, and then you can open up all of these things and you get a bunch of loot from it. It's really, really fun. It's really awesome to play with people. So you get on, and especially if you're on with other people who are on Stadia, it has Stream Connect. So on the bottom right corner of the screen, it will put like their video of what they're doing on their screen or on your screen, so you can see what your teammates are doing. And I've played a few matches with people here on the Nerd, or not matches, but a few missions with people here on the Nerd Nest, and we've had an absolute blast. Division 2, I love that game. My son got it, and he was playing it, and he was like, "Dad, you've got to play this." And I was like, "I don't like these kind of games. I'm not interested." And then I sat down and watched him play for a while, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. This game is fantastic." So that's why
Right.
it's number 4 on my list. What's your number 3, Lloyd?
My number 3 is the next iteration of a long-standing franchise that I've loved. That is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've loved Assassin's Creed all the way from the first one, all the way to where we are now with Valhalla. I've played Valhalla both on Stadia and my Series X. That was the first game that I bought on 2 different platforms just to see how cross-platform play works. With Ubisoft Connect now, you have the ability to upload your saves to the cloud, which then you can download on another system. There were some bugs at the start, but right now it is super fun. The ability to jump into Valhalla on Stadia, pause it, upload my save, pick it up on my Series X, play a little bit, upload my save. That is a really great feature that Ubisoft is baking into all their games now. That said, even though the game looks really good on my Series X, I think the game, to me, plays best on Stadia, especially when I was talking about playing on my new iPad and just laying in bed and connecting a controller. And next thing you know, I'm playing Valhalla on a little screen in front of me while laying down and drinking coffee. It is the world is weird now. Technology has changed, and I'm all here for it. And Assassin's Creed Valhalla is my number 3. If you've never played an Assassin's Creed, don't let this scare you away. There is a number of games. There is a lot of Assassin's Creed games, and they do take place in various locales and times of human existence. But they also take place in the real world. And if you want to know what the story is of the real world stuff, and you're scared that not knowing that is going to impact your Valhalla stuff, it really isn't. The way that they handle in Valhalla is really, really decent. So yeah, my number 3, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What an amazing game. Takes what Odyssey did and tweaks it enough to make it fun and interesting. So my number 3 game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Now, that game's not on my list, but only because I didn't spend very much time playing it. The time that I played it, I really, really enjoyed. My son, I think he 100%ed it. Like, he went nuts. That was the
Nice.
only game he played for an extended period of time. He was having an absolute blast. He's got like Thor's hammer and all kinds of crazy stuff. And like, he was telling me, and I was like, "You can do all that?" So it's definitely a game that I want to put more time into, but I didn't feel like I played it enough to be able to put it on the list.
Yeah.
My number 3 is the latest in I don't want to say long series, but a series that's been around for a very long time, and that is Baldur's Gate 3. Now, Baldur's Gate 3 is not officially done. It's in early access. But oh my God, what a fantastic game. I've had so much fun playing it. And there's so many things that you can do, and you can have so many different playthroughs. And I'm very excited to just sit down, make a new character, because my characters, all of my save game stuff got wiped because it's in early access. They made big changes to the game, and that meant older save games weren't going to work. And I know that there were people who were irritated with that. And for me, I'm like, I've got a reason, I've got an excuse to make a brand new character. So I think I'm going to go with a warlock this time.
Nice.
And you go through, and it's Dungeons and Dragons, and it's based on the 5th edition system. It's just really, really fun. The game is glitchy as hell because it's early access. I knew that going into it. And right now, there's only I think the first act of the game is available. And just with that first act, I have about 30 hours in, and I've had so
Wow.
much fun playing that game. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a lot of people's downfall because they're going to get completely sucked into what's happening in that game. And I love how, oh God, what's the name of the company?
Larian
Studios. Thank you. Yeah. I love what Larian Studios is doing with Baldur's Gate 3, and I can't wait to see what else they are going to do with that game when we get the rest of it, because again, we only have the first act, and I'm having a blast. What's your number 2, man?
My number 2, this one's going to be controversial a little bit based on all the hate and bugs and just vitriol that is happening, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. I've played Cyberpunk on 3 platforms. My favorite is Stadia. It performs well. All the hate, like I'll be on Twitter and everyone's like, "Oh, Cyberpunk's a steaming pile of garbage. I don't know how they released it. They should be ashamed of themselves." And I'm here driving around Night City and jumping out and getting into battles and all that other stuff and having 0 issues. It plays so well on Stadia. I'm so close to the end of the game. I want to beat it, but I also want to complete all the stuff and level up. I want to be level 50, street cred 50 before I beat the game. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I'm probably going to have to complete it early and then go do cleanup after the fact. But what an amazing game. It is not what I thought it would be. When the game first was announced, I didn't realize that it would play out the way it is with the whole Johnny Silverhand character and all the things that are happening in the game. No spoilers, by the way. You don't have to turn off the podcast. I'm not going to get into any spoilers other than Johnny Silverhand's in the game. So if that's a spoiler, I'm sorry. The game is just, it's awesome. I love large RPGs. One of my favorite games of all time is Skyrim. I also love the Fallout series. I loved The Witcher, and this has aspects of all of those games. And I don't know. I really love this title. I hope that CD Projekt Red can fix all the bugs, calm down all of the internet trolls, and release a really good game on every platform. But as it is now, if you're playing it on Stadia, it's pretty darn awesome. I don't know. It works really well. The game has issues, not on Stadia, other than the bugs that are inherent in any large open world game like Cyberpunk is. There's going to be weird bugs, but they're continuing to patch it. And I think a lot of the bugs that I was experiencing when the game first launched, like the constant infinite respawning cigarette thing that I talked about, that hasn't happened since. People don't walk through walls or doors as much as they used to. So CD Projekt Red's doing a good job taming all the bugs. And yeah, my number 2 game for the first year of Google Stadia, Cyberpunk 2077.
That one didn't make my list because I haven't played very much of it. It was not holding my attention, but mostly, and this is true, mostly because when I look at it, I'm like, I don't have enough time to I want to play that game when I can sit down and sink in a bunch of hours. And I tend to shy away from these big games like that because of that, because of not being able to sit down and sink in a bunch of hours. So I just haven't dumped a bunch of hours into that game. I don't know why I was able to do it so much with Baldur's Gate 3. But that's probably
different style of game. Style of game. You really are playing a full role in Baldur's Gate 3 where you can choose to do things the way you want. Cyberpunk, as soon as you're dropped into the world, you look at the map and there's a billion icons and you get immediate analysis paralysis. You're like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And then it's like, I'm just going to turn it off.
That's exactly how I feel. And that's why I didn't make my list. Another game my number 2, that's what we're on, right? Number 2?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 2.
My number 2 is an MMO, and it is one of my favorite MMOs, Elder Scrolls Online. Now, it's an old game, but it came out on Stadia this year. I think it was this summer, right?
Yep.
June?
Yeah, right when Greymoor came out.
Oh, my God. That game is so good, and we have an awesome community with the Nerd Nests, so if you haven't already joined up, make sure that you do. Elder Scrolls Online is fantastic and addictive, and really really great. I have not played it in, I'm going to say, 3 months, and I'm afraid to start it back up because I know, like, the same reason why I won't start up Breath of the Wild or World of Warcraft or Diablo, or Elder Scrolls Online or Final Fantasy 14. It's because these are the kind of games where I'm like, okay, I'm done with other games. This is the game that I'm going to play. And for this summer, that's what Elder Scrolls Online was. It was the only game that I was playing. We had so much fun on our community Discord. Link in the description down below. And every single day, I still see all those little faces up in the voice channel. And I know that they're off on some adventure in Tamriel. I know that they're doing that, but I'm not going to join because I don't. Ain't nobody got time for that. But Elder Scrolls Online is my number 2, and I love that game. What's your number 1?
Nice. That's so funny. Elder Scrolls should have totally been on my list. I've played that probably more than any game on Stadia, but it's not on my list for whatever reason. I didn't think of it to include it because it's such an old game that it's. We've talked about this on the past, and it's from DLC. I didn't coin the term, but it's like the games you're married to, and then the games you're dating. And Elder Scrolls is definitely one of those games you're married to. You're constantly going back to it, digging into the new content, and then it's like, oh, shiny, let's go play this for a little while. But then you come back to Elder Scrolls Online. So that totally should have been on my list, and I didn't even think about it. So there it is.
Before you give your number 1, Eric in chat asked me, he said, did you play Baldur's Gate 3 with mouse and keyboard primarily or controller? I played it with mouse and keyboard. It's not fun on controller, but they said that it's not, like, the controller support isn't done yet, and so that's why. Go ahead. What's your number 1 game of 2020 on Stadia, Lloyd?
My number 1 game on Google Stadia for the first year and a bit of Stadia is a game that I didn't anticipate being on my list when it was first announced. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I do. People are going to be so tired of me bearing the lead every single time that I talk about a game. Like I have all this preamble, Bill, and it's kind of fun to sit here and see the chat room kind of flash over here. My
Shut
number
up and
1
tell
game.
us the game.
My number 1 game, Immortals Phoenix Rising. This is the first big new IP from Ubisoft that I've been completely behind as soon as I jumped into it. I loved Breath of the Wild on my Nintendo Switch, one of my favorite games of all time. I love Assassin's Creed. We've already talked about Valhalla. Taking equal parts Breath of the Wild and equal parts Assassin's Creed and just like mushing them together into a ball of awesomeness is what Immortals Phoenix Rising is. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. The world is completely beautiful. It's divided into different sections. So there's like the fire and brimstone chunk of the world. There's the icy sort of part of the world. There's the really beautiful fairy tale forest part of the world, and you kind of have to go from section to section to section. There is a main hub, so all upgrades you have to go back to the main hub to do upgrades, which is different than Assassin's Creed. Like Assassin's Creed, it has those big things that you climb to the top to kind of synchronize, but there's only one per little world section in the game. It takes all the things that I love about those 2 games and makes it into a game that is better because of both of them existing previously. There's a pile of like Breath of the Wild, there was the little shrines that you would find on the map, and you do like a little puzzle thing on a shrine or a battle in the shrine, and then you get some powers. That is in this game. It really rips, like, it just rips off Breath of the Wild so much, like from the gliding to the climbing to these shrines, but it changes it enough where it is super fun to get into. So I'm all here for all the DLC. Like when you look at the DLC list, it looks really interesting. There's even a DLC pack that is coming where you don't play as Phoenix. It looks like I'm
cool.
all about checking out this IP, seeing how it goes from launch to the last DLC pack, and then kind of seeing where Ubisoft is going to go from this game. It is great. I love it. I don't know what it is about the game that has it as my number 1 list, but the whole entire experience from start to finish has just been wonderful. I almost stupidly enough, I almost spent $20 on in-app purchases just to get the Adventure Time skins. They don't do anything in the game,
They're
but
so
they added
stupid
Adventure
looking
Time
too.
skins. It looks so dumb, and I'm like, I want to be dumb. I want to ride this thing. I want my little bird to be Jake. But I didn't. But I was so close to buying it just because I love the franchise so much. So I'm really excited to see where Ubisoft takes this franchise. I hope it is a game like Assassin's Creed that every year or two we get a sequel. Because I think they knocked it out of the park. It is a really good game. So my number one game on Stadia in its first year is Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
That game is really good. I didn't put it on my list because I haven't played enough of it, because it's pretty recent, and it also came out right before Cyberpunk 2077. And
Right.
like it's the second half of 2020, or the last quarter of 2020 problem again.
Right. I beat this game before Cyberpunk came out. That is how much I enjoyed it. I wanted to beat the story, and I soldiered through, and I did all I could to complete the game before Cyberpunk came out. There's a bunch of other side quest stuff that I haven't finished, but the main campaign I completed, and it was rewarding. The whole thing was good from start to finish. I loved Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
All right, my number one game is Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal. If we could go back in time a little bit, and you said, Bill, what's your favorite first person shooter? I would have said Overwatch. And then you would have said, all right, well, what's your favorite single player first person shooter? I would have said Doom 2016. Doom 2016. I remember when it was at E3 and they showed it off, and I said, all right, they're like, oh, look, and you get ammo by chainsawing people. And I'm like, well, that's just being gross for the effect of being gross. Like, that's not actually doing anything to the gameplay. But then the game came out, and everybody was saying how great it was. And I was like, okay, everybody keeps saying how great it is. I'm going to give it a shot. So I picked the game up. I think it was on sale on Steam, and I played through it, and I had so much fun. I finished it. I had so much fun playing Doom 2016. It became my favorite single-player first-person shooter. I know that there's multiplayer stuff, but it's my favorite single-player first-person shooter. Right. And then Doom Eternal came out, and I thought, all right, it's going to be more of the same. And it is more of the same, but oh my God, is it fantastic. It is such a great game. They took everything that I loved about Doom 2016 and they turned it all up to 11. It is incredibly fast. It is faster than Doom 2016. It is harder than Doom 2016. The enemies are intense and crazy, and there are lots of them, and you completely get swarmed. And the movement that you have as Doom Guy is insane. Like, you can do these double jumps and a dash in the midair, and this grappling hook that you can use, or like energy, like not grappling hook, but like you can grab these bars and like the monkey bar off of them and fling yourself up. It's so amazing, and I had so much fun playing it. And yes, I did finish it. And you know, it's a good game if Bill finished it, because I do not finish games. Doom Eternal is my favorite game of 2020 on Stadia. What a fantastic achievement that game is. And I can't wait to get back in and play more of the DLC. I played some of the DLC when it came out. And again, it came out at the later in the year, and I was just distracted with a bunch of other stuff. So I need to get back into it. But it's really hard, and I need to practice more before I play that DLC. But that's my number one. So now everybody has heard Lloyd's top 10, and you've heard my top 10. In the comment section down below, I am very interested in seeing what your top 10 is. So let us know your top 10 games on Stadia. Lloyd made the rules, so it's your top 10 games in the since Stadia launched. So anything that came out from November 18th until December 31st, November 18th of 2019. until December 31st of 2020 on Stadia. Let us know, what are your top 10 games in the comment section down below. And we went really, really long. So usually we answer all of the super chats that came in. Stick around, everybody. We're going to answer those super chats, but I'm going to stop the podcast part of it so people don't look at it and be like, it's an hour and a half. I don't have time for all this. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show, and then Lloyd and I will answer all of those super chats that came in. So Lloyd,
Yep.
that was a really fun idea. I'm glad that you decided to do it. Before we get out of here, we do want to let everybody know about where they can vote for their favorite games for the 2020 Nerdy Awards. This is something our Mega Mod Kodiak Moonwolf came up with. He took nominations up until up until December 31st. And now he's compiled the list. There's five categories, and we'll talk more about this in the future. I think you have until January 24th to vote. There's 5 games in each category. So if you go to nerdnest.tv/vote, you can make your voice heard, and make sure that you let other people know so they can vote as well. And we'll cover it when all of the voting is done. Anything to add before we end the podcast?
I don't think so. This has just been what an amazing first year for Google Stadia. First year in a bit. We'll just call it the first year. We'll pretend that Stadia came out on January 1st, 2020 and ended it at the end of the year. I can't think of another platform where I've enjoyed the first year so much, that I've put hundreds of hours into so many different games. It's just been amazing. And I know a lot of the games that we talked about aren't necessarily new games necessarily, but they're new to us. They're new to Stadia, and we got this many amazing experiences in year one. 10 amazing games that I could talk about in my top 10 list, and Bill could talk about in his top 10 list. 2021 is going to be doubly as insane. And when we're here in 2022 in January talking about the second year of Stadia, we're gonna have to do top 50, I think, Bill, because it's gonna be insane. I'm just, the number of games we're gonna get is just gonna be crazy. That's my guess anyway.
All right. Thank you for listening, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Take it easy, everybody.
All right, let me just save that, and we'll do the super chats and stuff.
Cool.
Save project as. What episode is this? Do you know? I don't know. 92?
93, I want to say.
Look at the show notes. No, it's 92.
Let's go. nerdnest.tv/StadiaCast will take us right there.
Oh, okay.
nerdnest.tv/StadiaCast is, last episode was final episode of the year. Oh, that's right. You don't put episode numbers on that.
Yeah, I don't. That's okay. I just looked in the show notes. It says 92.
Okay.
All right. All right. Before we get started with reading all of the super chats, there's something that I'm going to start doing. I don't know, like, I don't have a set schedule for it, because a set schedule, I might not be able to do that. I'm going to start doing open mics more often. That's my goal. Usually it's been like once every 6 weeks or so I do an open mic. I want to do those more often. And a lot of times I will be like, oh, I have time. I can do, excuse me, I can do an open mic. I don't know that I have anything that I really want to talk about. Sometimes I just don't have an idea. And so I just say, I'm not going to do it. You guys can send in your ideas for topics, and some people already have, by going to nerdnest.tv/submit. If you go there, you can send in your ideas for things that I can talk about on an open mic. And so the first half of the open mic will be a couple of ideas from you, the viewers. And then the second half of the open mic will be open discussion with the live chat. So that's something that I want to do more often. I did one on Friday, I believe, and I'll do another one as soon as we have a bunch of ideas that come in that I want to talk about. So again, that URL is nerdnest.tv/submit. All right. Let's talk about these super chats that came in during the show. There were a bunch of them. You guys are amazing. We had a bunch of new members. or members who are re-upping. By the way, I don't know if you know that you're still did that automatically re-up you, or did you have to do that
It
manually?
automatically re-upped me.
Okay. All right. I was curious how that worked.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, so art by committee, Pratt. I'm just going to say Pratt. I don't know how to say his name. Emilio, Lujanacoma, Ahmed, Mark, Ian, and Paul all became members in the past day or so. And then we've got a super chat coming in from Dithilev, I think, is how maybe we say there, maybe Dithilev. They said, do you know why there is such a big difference on how well mouse and keyboard works? I played Far Cry 5 and that was not good, but Destiny 2 is awesome. Lloyd, you want to tackle that one?
Um, yeah, I think mouse and keyboard, there's so much more data that is going across. So developers have to handle it properly. The way it works on a PC is your mouse is always updating its coordinates. Your keyboard is always being pulled for button presses. So depending on how the game is handling those inputs, it could cause some issues. So I'm thinking that's probably what is happening a lot out there, where people are having issues with mouse and keyboard in games. I think as developers get more used to the platform, they're going to be able to mitigate some of those issues. But as it is right now, I pretty much only play with controller. I don't enjoy mouse and keyboard, except for like the odd time if I'm stuck and I want to get in and do something quickly in a game, like claim my daily in Elder Scrolls. I'll do it with mouse and keyboard. But usually for games on Stadia, I'm playing with my controller because of weird like lag or polling issues that I've run into in the past.
I see. Now, I don't know. Maybe you're 100% correct, but I think the real reason that there's problems with mouse and keyboard and there's not problems with controller is because controller is inherently flawed from the beginning, and so they have to build in what the hell is it called where they help you aim assist. Like it automatically has to have aim assist built in when you are using controller. And so I think that when you've got the aim assist turned on for the controller, it kind of fixes a lot of those issues that you might otherwise not notice when you're on mouse and keyboard, because mouse and keyboard doesn't have aim assist. And so maybe just maybe that's the reason why mouse and keyboard feels worse. Although I will say, like you're right about some games, mouse and keyboard feels better. Like the Division 2 feels awesome on mouse and keyboard. I still play it on controller because I'm a controller guy, but it feels like I'm playing on local hardware.
Right.
And I think that some developers are going to be better at dealing with latency than other developers, and because of that, the developers who are not as good at dealing with latency, it's kind of masked by the controller, but the keyboard shows everything, or the mouse shows everything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with developers maybe not working a lot on PC ports in the past, so they have one routine to accept inputs, not realizing that there's a way more data coming across from a full keyboard and mouse setup. So maybe it's some of that as well. But yeah, I've had issues with mouse and keyboard. So I choose to use controller because it's just my preferred way to play.
Eric Miller says there may be some technical reason with how the device receiving the video feed also has to upload the mouse and keyboard input. I don't think that that's the case, because the mouse and keyboard input it's not a lot of data. It's kilobytes of data, so it's really not very much that's getting sent.
Yeah, it's more the game accepting those inputs and not updating the screen fast enough. Like if you want games to look really good on your PC and you're playing 4K 60 while on Stadia, you make sure you turn mouse acceleration off. You make sure that you run your screen at a higher refresh rate than 60 frames a second, and then your gameplay with mouse and keyboard is going to be buttery smooth. But for most people, that's that's way more work than they want to go through. They just
Yeah.
want it to work, and that's when pulling out your controller is definitely the better way to do that.
Especially when it's this cool wasabi
Oh,
controller.
that's nice. That's nice.
That's nice.
Where's my wasabi controller? Oh yeah, it's down here charging. I forgot I put it on the floor to charge because I had to move some stuff on my desk and I hadn't picked it up.
He puts a controller on the floor like a monster.
It was on a box that is on the floor. So I guess by the transitive property, it was on the floor, but it was really on a box.
So Jem sent in a super chat. They said, maybe when you start F1, they should ask if you're experienced or new to avoid this problem. 101 game design. I 100% agree. If you were not here earlier, Jem is referring to my problems with F1 2020 or 2021? Whatever the new thing is.
2020?
I don't know.
2020, I think.
Something
I don't know.
like that. Chasen and Sukotronic both sent in super chats without any message. They're just supporting, so thank you very much for that. Lars Rye Jepson sent in a super chat. They said, Red Dead Redemption was released in 2019, but should count. Well, I mean,
Definitely.
It's your list. You can have it count all you want. I didn't play it at all. I'm not a fan of Rockstar Games. Cue the torches and pitchforks. I don't like their way that their games control. I just think it's bad. It's just bad. I don't like the way that they control. If you love that game, then I'm all for it. Didn't you like that game a lot, Lloyd?
Yeah. I mean, I only played a little bit of Red Dead. There's so much to play, and that is a game that I knew was going to take 100 hours out of me. And I put that into like other games, like I don't know, Watch Dogs or Borderlands. Borderlands probably took a lot of that time because there's only a finite amount of time that I have to play games. So yeah, it's good.
It's funny. Ruben's like, did he just say Red Dead Online is bad? No, I said their controls are bad. The game, from what I understand, the story is amazing. The graphics are gorgeous. But the controls, I just can't stand them. I don't like Rockstar controls. It feels like you're driving the character from 30 feet back. It doesn't feel right to me. And
Sure.
That's why I've stopped playing their games. And I haven't played Red Dead. And that's the reason, because I don't like the controls from that studio. Ruben,
Chasen put a question in comment. My question now might be: are you guys planning to do any cross promotion with Stadia in the form of giveaways? Could be awesome for Stadia and the channel. We are completely open to working with Google on anything. Unfortunately, I think Google is, or I guess not unfortunately, but for us, unfortunately, Google's playing with the big million sub streamers and YouTube stars because they want to broaden the audience. If they were supporting us, they would basically be preaching to the converted already. So I can understand why they want to do other things with other content creators. Makes total sense to me. But if they would love to work with us, we would love to work with them. So yeah, I guess the question is, we'll have to wait and see how everything changes in a post COVID-19 world. Hopefully by summer or whatever.
Yeah. Ruben sent in a super chat. Thank you very much for that. He said, "Happy New Year, boys. Keep up the good work in 2021. Love your content and podcast a lot. Lots of love. Stay healthy, and we'll see each other a lot." Well, Ruben, thank you very much for the kind words. We appreciate it. Rodney Husley sent in a super chat with no message. Thank you for the support. Consigno sent in a super chat. They said, "I'm so thankful to Google in 2020 for helping make a dumpster fire year tolerable. Thank you for all your content, and thank you for Stadia for making a console that fits my work-life balance." That's a big thing, is that it doesn't cost a bunch of money. You don't have to fight with drivers on your graphics card or whatever, but you're still able to play these games. And I think that that's a thing that a lot of people overlook. And I think that 2021 and 2022 is just going to continue to show people that you don't need to have fancy hardware in order to enjoy these games. So I thank you very much for the support, Consigno. We appreciate that a lot. And it's a good message. Mr. Gat sent in a super chat. They said, "Have you tried Sundered? I thought that was a good game, but not on that, not on the list. I which one you play? Which one did you play? I have. Did I play Sundered? That's the side-scrolling Metroidvania, right?
Ooh, is it? It could be. Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah,
think
because there
that's
were
the
two
one.
games that came out at the same time, and you took one and I took the other, and I played
Yeah,
Sundered, I think, and I thought it was cool. I got stuck. I couldn't figure out where to go, and I never went back to it. Um, the combat was really good. I enjoyed what I played, but it did not. Yeah, Jotun. So Lloyd
that's the
got
one.
Jotun, and I got Sundered, and I played Sundered. It just didn't really grab my attention and hold on to it, and that's why it's not on the list. I also got stuck and couldn't figure out where to go. Like I just kept going around to the same places on the map, and I couldn't figure it out, and I don't know. I got
Yeah.
distracted with some other game instead.
Sundered is a game I wanted to play when it came out. It looked really interesting, and then it was added to Pro at some point.
Mhm.
And there's been so much coming out. I just haven't had a chance to I haven't even booted it. There's so many Pro games that are sitting in my library that I haven't even started once, and I feel like a very bad game player that I haven't booted them. But yeah, there's only so much time in the day, and unfortunately, that didn't make my list of games that I wanted to jump into.
Well, everybody, thank you very much for the super chats and the memberships and for hanging out with us all last year. We really do appreciate it. Anything you want to say before we get out of here, Lloyd?
No, just 2021 is going to bring a bunch more content on this channel. Appreciate everybody coming by and supporting us, even though the name changed and some of the content that we're uploading is not going other places. It's all going here. Same amount of content, just in one place instead of multiple places. People have understood that, and it's been great chatting with you all for a year. This is the highlight of my week, sitting here on Sunday and chatting with you all. So I'm glad so many of you enjoy coming here and doing the same with us.
That's right. And go vote in the Nerdy Awards. That's nerdnest.tv/vote. So you can go and let everybody know what is your favorite game on all of the different platforms. There's PlayStation and Xbox and PC and Stadia and everything else on there. And Lloyd just pasted it into chat. Nerdnest.tv/vote. All right. I think it's time to get out of here, Lloyd. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too, Bill. Take it easy, chat, and we'll talk to you next weekend.
Bye.
Bye.